In the last 3 days, Vechain's price has surged by over 20%. This is very much in line with the cup and handle, and everything seems to be moving on track. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the price action of VET in a little bit more detail. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏𝗧. Right, with that said, done that way, let's dive into this daily chart for Vechain to see exactly what's been going on and what we should be expecting to happen next. Right, so guys, as we start, we obviously have the wave 3 high. Okay, this actually comes in up here on the 17th of April, and that came in at 27.9 cent. Okay, this is basically when we started to see that major pullback from Bitcoin from 65k down to 28k. For Vechain, we went from 27.9 cent down to the low of 5.2 cent. Okay, so a significant pullback and a fantastic opportunity to accumulate more Vechain within this buy zone just at the bottom here. And again, this was somewhere where we entered in at 6.9 cent. Down to a theoretical low that we could have gone to 4.6. We actually bottomed out at 5.2, and this is a fantastic opportunity to build up a fantastic position ahead of where we are going. Obviously, we can also see that some patterns have formed on this daily chart, and the main one that we want to talk about is the cup and handle. Okay, the cup and handle is an interesting pattern. Basically, taken from the left hand side of our cup, we can come right the way down to the bottom of our cup, all the way back up to the right hand side. We come down for our handle, and then we push up. Okay, and when we push up, we are targeting the 1.618 area of the high and the low. This actually brings us in basically at 22 cents, so a pretty good area to kind of be targeting, squarely between the 702 and the 786. Okay, so again, these are the three key areas of the Fibonacci retracement tool: the 618, the 702, the 786, where all the kind of the main battling really will occur. This is going to be the big bull signal. Once we get that closed candle above the 786, it really does help send us to those next levels, and specifically to new all-time highs and new price discovery. Obviously, you can see over this side of the chart at 19.3, 21.2, 23.1, lots of kind of consolidation, lots of areas of resistance and support were found in this area. That means that when we approach this area, do expect there to be volatility as we try to battle our way through and get that closed candle above the 786. Ultimately, the cup and handle is definitely on track. We can see good progress towards that 22 cent target, and we can see that obviously in the last few days we've actually started to really climb up significantly now. Again, we're finding some interesting resistance points, and we're going to get into those on the smaller time frames in just a moment. We can take a look at that stochastic. We started to lower down just over here a few days ago. And right now, we're actually just below the overbought area. And we're all looking to come back up into this overbought area in the same way that we were previously in the month of August. Here we had a good surge to the upside, and this is something that we were actually in the overbought area for pretty much near on an entire month. And that's what we kind of want to see happen again up here as we continue this rally in October, November. Ultimately, everything's pretty much on track on the weekly and, of course, on this daily chart with a good cup and handle pattern targeting 22 cent. I have no concerns on the daily chart whatsoever. Okay, so it's at this point that we are going to dive into the advice.io dashboard just to see the underlying value of the cryptocurrency and whether there are anything that we should be concerned with. And for Vechain, we're a B1 cryptocurrency rating. So overall, it's actually just on the cusp of entering the top tier level of ratings on the advice.io platform. For those who are unfamiliar, advice.io does use artificial intelligence and machine learning to help us understand the underlying value of cryptocurrencies. There's a link in the description down below. It's completely free, and I do urge everyone to sign up and start to understand exactly what is going on with their cryptocurrencies in a little bit more detail. Recently, Vechain had been succumbing to a bit of fear, and it's good to see that this has actually now changed. The Fear and Greed Index for Vechain is actually now showing a B3. This is entering the neutral area. Okay, so no longer is there extreme fear for Vechain, and after a good run yesterday, this is quite clear to see. Of course, we still do have that AMI-HAD ratio issue. This is a rating of D, so there are some liquidity-based problems for Vechain, and this hasn't gone away just yet, and is something that is actually quite consistent across many different altcoins. It's not just Vechain. As we come on down, we have a sharp ratio, an A2 rating, again above the 50-day average, the second best rating that you can get from the advice.IA dashboard. And basically the sharp ratio is your risk reward. And right now this is indicating that the rewards outweigh the risks, so we might want some exposure to Vechain. And again, this is something that hasn't changed for pretty much the majority, pretty much since the latter part of September. All of October, we've been basically saying that the sharp ratio is indicating you might want some exposure to Vechain, and obviously we're starting to see the price move to the upside, and so there were some fantastic opportunities to build a fantastic position in Vechain ahead of that 20% spike that we've seen in the last 3 days. Now the moving averages are also in A2, looking pretty good from a moving average perspective, and the profitability is an A1. Again, Vechain has performed incredibly well at over 18,000% in gains between March and April, and or March 2020 and April 2021. And to put that into context, Bitcoin for the same time period was only 1,600%, and Ethereum was only 5,000%. So we do know that Vechain has outperformed many of the safer bets in the space, if you will, and it does continue to perform incredibly well. And when we jump back to the charts here, just to kind of talk through the price expectations on where we're going next, we can see 723% from the current position up to the high of the 4.236 at $1.01. Okay, and again, that is based on the performance of wave 3 and wave 4. Okay, that whole correction where Bitcoin moved from 65k down to 28k. You take that performance into consideration, and it shows us moving up to this last leg of the bull run at $1.01. That $1 isn't going to happen overnight. We've been talking about it for a very long time, and ultimately that $1 is something that we see occurring at the end of the bull run. Okay, we're not saying it's going to happen in 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, 2 weeks, or a month. It's the end of the bull run, okay, and timing is always going to be the hardest thing to gauge. It could happen, towards the end of the year. It could happen at the beginning of next year, right? But no one's really going to get the timing quite right. Ultimately, I do see Bitcoin kind of finishing its run at around the 20th of December, and again, that's just based on the historical time patterns of Bitcoin. And then historically, altcoins usually go after Bitcoin. So that would lead us into the new year, most likely. But it's really hard to actually give you an accurate kind of timing schedule for the altcoins and the bull run. Overall, everything's looking pretty good. Good price expectations to the run to the upside. Obviously, market cap is no barrier to price discovery. We only need 2 things. We need to see a squeeze on the supply, which we already do have when it comes to Vechain. It's a little bit more subtle than you might see with many other cryptocurrencies. But basically, it's enterprise adoption and enterprise technology. And those enterprises are actually incentivized to buy VET, hodl it, get it put into the sync wallet, and to earn V4. The V4 is then used as the gas fee for the transactions on a network, and as a result, millions upon millions of VET is actually stored by these enterprises to earn that V4. So again, it's a little bit more subtle, but there is a squeeze on the supply, and that squeeze is only going to get tighter and stronger as time progresses with more enterprise adoption of Vechain. And of course, we just need demand, and we saw some pretty fantastic things occurring yesterday. Some interesting news. We obviously saw the vote for the POA, Proof of Authority 2.0, and all those kind of good things. These are the kind of things that are going to help with the demand. And obviously, as we start to see more adoption and more things built on the Vechain 4 blockchain, we're going to start to see a significant push with the price of VET. Obviously, we are still targeting that cup and handle, as we were talking about earlier, up towards 22 cents. That's a small kind of price push, something that's really quite comfortable for Vechain to do. And again, we just have to look at the history to know how fast this thing can rapidly move from our current position up to these high areas just here. It can happen very, very quickly, and it can also happen relatively slowly. I'd like to think that we'd get there by the end of October, but it's going to depend on whatever Bitcoin does. Bitcoin is obviously above its 786 right now, and it needs to hold this area. And if it does hold this area nice and strong, then Bitcoin should should continue its growth, allowing Vechain to grow with it. Now, when we jump down into our hourly, we can obviously see the price action that we've been experiencing right now. Okay, so in a little bit of detail here, we can obviously see the initial kind of pullback down, okay, getting us into this accumulation. This gain took us just below our 10.3 cent area, just at the bottom here, actually bringing us in at 10 cent exactly. Good support was found just at the bottom here. Then we started a good rally, small pullback, bringing us back inside our two areas between 10.7 and 10.3. And then this is where things got interesting. We absolutely spiked up massively, right? We're oversold on our stochastic, and then we got some good sentiment come in. And what we mean by that is where we can see here some good volume just came in quite out of the blue, right? Basically, the price fell down, the volumes dropped, and then all of a sudden, a huge player came in, and basically we started to spike up. So some significant volumes came in, and what we've seen is good volume there on out, right? Good news is breaking, and a good run to the upside. Now, if I just turn off that volume, what we can do is we can see that we found an upper resistance. This resistance is the same resistance as we had previously at the beginning of October. Finding this resistance just here, and basically this resistance is 12.2 cent. Right now, considering that we are overbought, what we're looking to do is actually come back down. Now, there's support to be found at 11.9 cent, but I do not think that is enough to actually lower that stochastic completely. So we might actually find ourselves coming down a little bit lower, finding support maybe at 11.7 or somewhere in this kind of range here, to allow us to, actually, I'll put it there. I would say it might be around here at 11.7. Okay, so what we'll look for here is basically, if we want ideally to hold at 11.9, but if we don't hold 11.9 and we fall through, 11.7 seems like a pretty good area to then see us come back down, retest 12.2 as support, and then continue that growth to the upside. Okay, the objective here is to lose that momentum, take that stochastic down to the oversold area like we were over this end, and then grow back up again with some significant volume behind it. It's good to see that that sentiment is starting to shift and change, with the fear and greed index now in a neutral position. That's going to really help with the growth overall for Vechain. And obviously, when we go back to that daily, understanding that we are expecting a small pullback, it doesn't distract away from that cup and handle, the pattern that is forming us and taking us to 22 cent in the month of October. Overall, everything is pretty much on track for Vechain. Happy to see this one actually start to get some traction. I know people are very frustrated with Vechain. We see it in the comments all the time, but patience is absolutely key with cryptocurrency investing. This is not gambling. This is investing, and it's important that you do your own research and come to your own conclusions. I'm not a financial advisor. Chris is not a financial advisor, and there's only one person responsible for your investment decisions, and that is you. So make sure that you do your research and dig in deep. Vechain has a lot of FUD out there, a lot of absolute garbage that is not true. So it's important that you actually do solid research to find out the truth from the fiction. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. Hopefully you have found this useful and informative. If you have, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.